The woman's voice sliced through the boutique like a blade. "She doesn't belong here," she hissed, jabbing a manicured finger toward a teenage girl. The store froze. Customers glanced up from the racks, eyes darting between the furious woman and the girl standing in the spotlight of her humiliation. But the girl? She didn't flinch. She stood tall, chin up, shoulders squared, gaze steady. What that woman didn't know was that her entire world was about to unravel. And it would happen faster than she could say, "Check her bag." So ask yourself this. Have you ever been judged before you even opened your mouth? Have you ever felt like someone tried to write your story without knowing your name? If so, drop a comment, and if you believe in standing up to that kind of injustice, hit that like button now. Because this story? Oh, it's just getting started. Her name was Emma Reynolds, 16 years old, headstrong, confident, and passionate about fashion. All she wanted was to find the perfect dress for her father's upcoming charity gala. What she didn't expect was to walk into a storm of prejudice. Emma's father, Nathan Reynolds, was a respected entrepreneur who owned a chain of luxury stores across the city. A self-made man known for his integrity, generosity, and sharp vision. But today he wasn't around, he was away on business. Emma had come alone. It was her first time shopping solo, and she couldn't have felt prouder. Inside the boutique, she wandered past racks of elegant dresses, her heart light with excitement. She'd admired these clothes for years. And today she wasn't just browsing. She was buying. But someone else in the store wasn't admiring Emma. That someone was Evelyn Drake. A longtime customer, Evelyn was known for two things: her platinum credit card and her icy glare. She carried herself like she owned the place, and when she saw Emma, her expression turned to stone. From the moment Emma stepped inside, Evelyn tracked her like a hawk. Every movement, every step, every smile. In Evelyn's mind, Emma didn't fit. And she was determined to let everyone know. When Emma stepped into the fitting room, holding a dress she loved, Evelyn whispered loud enough for others to hear, "I bet she's not even planning to buy anything." Emma, unaware of the growing hostility, tried on the dress with a smile. It wasn't quite her size, so she returned to browsing, her joy undimmed. She didn't know Evelyn had already decided she didn't belong. "Let me ask you something. What would you do if someone treated you like you didn't deserve to be in a room, just because of how you looked? Tell us in the comments. And if you believe that everyone deserves respect, no matter their skin, their clothes, or their status, subscribe now. Because what happened next? It should never happen to anyone. Emma found another dress. One that fit like it was made for her. She stepped out of the fitting room, admiring herself in the mirror. She looked radiant. And then, Evelyn pounced. "That's a beautiful dress," Evelyn said, voice sugary sweet but eyes full of venom. Emma turned politely. "Thank you. I think it's perfect for my dad's event." Evelyn's smile vanished. "Are you sure you're in the right store?" she asked. Emma blinked. "I'm exactly where I need to be." "Well," Evelyn scoffed, her voice rising, "this boutique isn't exactly budget-friendly. Maybe you'd be more comfortable somewhere, less upscale." The air in the boutique turned thick. Emma felt her stomach tighten. She'd been insulted before, but this wasn't casual rudeness. This was something darker. Still, she stood her ground. "I'll let my purchases speak for themselves," she replied, her voice firm. By now, customers had stopped pretending not to listen. Whispers spread. Eyes watched. The store manager, a young woman new to the job, peeked from behind the register. Emma took a breath. "If there's a problem," she said to Evelyn, "you should speak to someone in charge." Evelyn didn't back down. She marched straight toward the manager. Her voice was loud, sharp, full of entitlement. "I've been watching that girl," she said, pointing a finger, "and I'm pretty sure she slipped something into her bag." The room gasped. The manager's face went pale. She looked at Emma. Then Evelyn. She didn't know what to do. Emma's heart dropped. "I haven't done anything wrong," she said calmly. But Evelyn was relentless. "Of course you'd say that," she snapped. "You people always do." Yes, she went there. And with that single sentence, Evelyn crossed a line she could never come back from. "Why don't you just show us what's in your bag?" The accusation dropped like a bomb. Emma blinked, stunned, turning to the manager. Her voice, though calm, carried the sharp edge of disbelief. "I haven't done anything wrong," she said. "But if this circus needs to end, then go ahead." Without hesitation, she handed over her purse, heart pounding, face flushed. Customers watched in silence, a mix of curiosity and discomfort rippling through the room. The manager opened the bag delicately, eyes scanning its contents. After a long, tense moment, she looked up. "There's nothing here," she said quietly, a flicker of guilt in her tone. But Evelyn wasn't finished. Check again, she snapped. She probably hid it somewhere else. Emma's jaw tightened. Her patience, tested to its edge, had run out. She stepped forward, her voice still composed but now steeled with authority. I think we're done here, she said firmly, snatching her bag back. Unless you have real evidence, stop harassing me. But Evelyn raised her voice again, louder this time so the entire boutique could hear. If you have nothing to hide, then why are you being so defensive? Emma's hands trembled, but her stance never wavered. Defensive? She echoed, eyebrows raised. You accused me of theft in front of all these people without a shred of proof. That's not defensiveness. That's called self-respect. The manager raised her hands, hoping to calm the storm. Maybe we should all just take a step back and... No, Evelyn interrupted. Girls like her don't belong in stores like this. They cause scenes and they leave with things that aren't theirs. That was it. Emma's spine straightened. Her voice rang clear, slicing through the boutique like a bell. You're not just wrong, she said, her gaze fixed on Evelyn. You're showing everyone exactly who you are. And believe me, it's not a good look. Evelyn turned to the manager with a smug shrug. We don't need troublemakers like her ruining the atmosphere. Just ask her to leave. The manager hesitated. Her eyes flicked between Evelyn's entitled scowl and Emma's unyielding expression. Then with a weak sigh she spoke. I think it's best if you leave, ma'am. We don't want any more disruptions. Emma's jaw clenched. She could hardly believe what she was hearing. You're asking me to leave? She said slowly, the weight of betrayal thick in her voice. Even though I've done absolutely nothing wrong? Evelyn crossed her arms, triumphant. Exactly. You're just proving my point. Emma turned to her, gaze blazing. You're only doing this because of the color of my skin. And you should be ashamed of yourself. The boutique fell deathly quiet. No one dared to speak. After a beat, Evelyn forced out a weak defense. I'm just protecting the store's reputation. But the damage had already been done. The judgment in the room had shifted, and it wasn't aimed at Emma anymore. Other customers exchanged glances. Some whispered. Others looked at Evelyn with visible disgust. Have you ever watched the tables turn that fast? If you're still here, subscribe now and comment. What would you do if you were in Emma's shoes? Because what happened next? Nobody saw it coming. Emma, refusing to be silenced, reached into her pocket and calmly pulled out her phone. She dialed a number and raised it to her ear. Dad, she said, her voice clear, steady, and full of resolve. I need you to come to the boutique. There's a situation. Evelyn rolled her eyes and muttered under her breath. Oh great. She's calling her boyfriend to come save her. Typical. The woman next to her turned away, clearly uncomfortable now. Even Evelyn's audience had started to shrink. This is why stores like this need tighter rules, Evelyn continued loudly. We can't just let anyone walk in here. Emma didn't react. She stood there, back straight, eyes forward, dignity unshaken. Then moments later, the boutique's atmosphere was pierced by the low growl of a powerful engine. Outside, a sleek black SUV pulled up to the curb. Its tinted windows shimmered in the sunlight like armor. A suited man stepped out first, tall, muscular, and alert. An earpiece glinted beneath his ear as he scanned the boutique with sharp eyes. Every person inside turned to look. And then he appeared. Andrew Reynolds, dressed in a charcoal gray tailored suit that fit him like armor. His polished shoes clicked like authority on pavement, and his very presence changed the energy in the room. Whispers erupted. It's Mr. Reynolds? That's her dad. Oh my God, he's the Andrew Reynolds? The CEO? The manager's face went white. She scrambled forward, stammering. And Mr. Reynolds, we didn't know you were coming today. Evelyn's smirk faltered as confusion twisted her face. Oh, so she called her dad, she muttered sarcastically. Whatever. Still doesn't mean anything. But she was wrong. It meant everything. Andrew didn't look at the manager. Didn't look at Evelyn. He walked straight to Emma. No need to raise his voice. His presence alone made the entire room fall silent. He reached his daughter and gently placed a hand on her shoulder. You okay? He asked quietly. She nodded. Then he turned, slowly, his gaze sweeping across the boutique. And in that moment, everything changed. The boutique had fallen into a thick silence. Andrew Reynolds stood just inside the entrance, calm but commanding, scanning the boutique with sharp, calculated eyes. His gaze moved from the nervous store manager to the stunned onlookers and finally, to his daughter, Emma, standing tall at the center of it all. Without a word he strode forward. Each step deliberate. every motion precise. "What's going on here?" he asked, his voice calm but threaded with unmistakable authority. Evelyn Drake, smug just moments earlier, faltered for the briefest second. But then she stepped forward, her heels clicking across the marble tile. "Oh, thank goodness," she said, her voice sweetened with entitlement. "Finally, someone who can handle this situation. That girl," she jabbed a finger toward Emma, "has been acting suspiciously. I caught her trying to steal." Andrew's face remained unreadable. He didn't even glance at Emma, yet. Instead he turned to the manager. "Is this true?" he asked quietly. The manager swallowed hard. "Well," she stammered, clearly rattled. "Mrs. Drake did raise concerns. But we checked the bag. There was nothing there." "Exactly," Evelyn snapped, cutting her off. "But that doesn't mean she wasn't planning to steal. People like her know how to hide things." Gasps spread through the room like a sudden gust of wind. "People like her?" Andrew repeated slowly, eyes narrowing just enough to silence the room. His tone was level. "Come." But it cut sharper than any scream. Evelyn, suddenly aware of the weight behind his voice, backpedaled. "You know what I mean," she stammered. "This store is for respectable clients. And she doesn't exactly fit the profile." She pointed again at Emma, this time with a trembling hand. The power she thought she had? Slipping fast. Andrew didn't react. Not yet. He stood quietly, gaze bouncing between Emma and Evelyn. The weight of his silence was suffocating. But Evelyn didn't stop. "Someone needs to take responsibility," she insisted, her voice rising, sounding less confident and more desperate by the second. Then finally Andrew spoke. "This girl you're accusing," he said, tone steady, words razor sharp, "is my daughter." Silence. Complete, unshakable silence. Time itself seemed to stop. A ripple of gasps spread through the boutique. Customers exchanged stunned glances. Whispers ignited like wildfire. Emma stood quietly beside her father, head high, eyes forward. She didn't need to say a word. The truth had just flipped the entire room upside down. Evelyn's face went pale. Her lips moved but no sound came. The confidence? Gone. The arrogance? Shattered. Andrew took a step closer, towering over her, not with aggression, but with a presence so commanding that Evelyn shrank back. "You judged her without cause," he said coldly. "You made assumptions, hurled accusations, and humiliated her publicly. Not because she did anything wrong, but because of your own prejudice." The room held its breath. Then he turned slightly, voice rising just enough. "You're absolutely right about one thing though," he said, gesturing toward Emma. "This store is for respectable clients. And you, Mrs. Drake, are not one of them." The words landed like a thunderclap. Gasp. Murmurs. Evelyn's face turned scarlet. "Excuse me?" she croaked, still in disbelief. Andrew ignored her attempt to regain control and turned toward the manager. "She's not just my daughter," he said clearly. "She's a paying customer. And she deserves to be treated with respect. More so than the woman who just embarrassed herself trying to slander her." Evelyn flinched. I didn't know," she whispered. "She didn't say who she was." "She shouldn't have to," Andrew snapped. "No one should have to prove they deserve respect. Not here. Not anywhere." His eyes then locked onto the manager. "And you," he said sternly, "you stood by and let this happen. You watched my daughter be humiliated. Why didn't you speak up? Why didn't you question what you were being told?" The manager, face red, voice trembling, whispered, I didn't know who she was." "Not knowing is no excuse," Andrew said. "It is your job to treat every customer with fairness and dignity. What happened here reflects very poorly on this store." The boutique was dead silent. The only sound was the ticking of the wall clock and Evelyn's shallow breathing. Trying to save face, Evelyn chimed in. I was just protecting the store's reputation. I didn't mean any harm." Andrew didn't flinch. "Protecting the store?" he echoed. "By accusing a teenager of theft? With no proof? You embarrassed yourself, Mrs. Drake. And more importantly, you embarrassed every person in this room who stayed silent." Evelyn turned to the other customers, desperate for support. But no one met her gaze. Everyone had seen the truth. I thought," Evelyn tried again. Andrew cut her off. "You thought wrong," he said. "And now, you're going to face the consequences." Whispers rippled across the boutique as customers shifted, watching the woman who had once dominated the room now crumble under the weight of her actions. And what happened next? Let's just say, Evelyn Drake learned that no amount of money, status, or fake charm can hide a cruel heart forever. The store was still. A heavy silence clung to the boutique, only broken by the soft murmurs of customers whispering to one another. Some nodded in agreement with Andrew Reynolds. Others simply stood frozen, unsure how to process what they'd just witnessed. The manager looked pale, her hands shaking slightly as she fumbled with the clipboard in her grasp. And Evelyn Drake? She was frozen. Motionless. The haughty posture and smug smirk she carried in with her, completely gone. All that remained was the red flush of embarrassment and fear. She opened her mouth to say something, but Andrew raised a hand. "I think we've heard enough from you," he said, voice firm, unwavering. Then, turning to the bodyguard standing by the entrance, he gave a simple instruction. "Make sure she leaves." The man nodded, already stepping forward, his face unreadable, but his presence enough to make Evelyn take a step back. I didn't mean any harm," she mumbled, though her voice lacked any real conviction. Andrew didn't even blink. "You're banned," he said. "Not just from this store, but from every boutique I own. You're no longer welcome." The words hit harder than she expected. Her face turned crimson as the weight of it all settled in. She glanced around, hoping someone, anyone, would step in. No one did. Realizing there was nothing left to salvage, she muttered something under her breath and turned toward the door. Her heels clicked loudly across the polished marble floor, once confident steps, now retreating echoes of disgrace. At the exit she paused, looking back one final time. But what she saw wasn't a victory. It was Andrew standing tall beside Emma, his presence protective, unyielding. And Emma? Calm, unbroken, stronger than ever. With a final huff, Evelyn Drake pushed through the doors and vanished into the street, no longer a powerful figure but a cautionary tale. The boutique stayed quiet a moment longer, then the murmurs resumed. A few customers nodded in agreement. Others lowered their eyes, ashamed they hadn't spoken up. The store manager, clearly shaken, stepped forward. "Mr. Reynolds," she said, voice trembling. I had no idea she was your daughter. If I'd known." Andrew cut her off gently but firmly. "It's not about who she is," he said. "It's about how you handled the situation." The manager looked down, her guilt written all over her face. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "It won't happen again." "It better not," Andrew replied. "This store carries my name. And I will not tolerate this kind of behavior again." Break the fourth wall. Have you ever faced prejudice in a place where you were just trying to exist peacefully? Drop a comment below and share your story. Let your voice be heard. And if this story resonates with you, smash that subscribe button now. Help us bring more stories like this to light. Andrew turned to Emma, his expression softening. "You okay?" he asked gently. Emma nodded, a small smile breaking through. "I am now. Thanks, Dad." "I'm proud of you," he said, placing a steady hand on her shoulder. "You carried yourself with dignity and grace. That store, that name, it's just as much yours as it is mine. And no one has the right to make you feel otherwise." Her smile widened. She stood taller. Together, they turned and walked toward the boutique's back office. Behind them, a silent crowd. In front of them, a future rewritten. But as Emma walked beside her father, one thought lingered in her mind. How many more people like Evelyn were out there, ready to judge others simply for existing? She made herself a promise. This wouldn't be the last time she stood up for what was right. Because this story? It isn't just about confrontation. It's about triumph. About the quiet, unshakable power of dignity. About fathers who protect, daughters who lead, and the voices that refuse to be silenced. Evelyn Drake's actions may have stemmed from ignorance, but what they revealed was far more dangerous. How prejudice corrodes not just individuals but communities. Still, Emma's strength and Andrew's resolve remind us all. Even in the darkest moments, there is room for change. Room for redemption. And always room to do better. Closing message for audience. If this story moved you, inspired you, or made you think, like this video, subscribe for more powerful real-world stories. And in the comments, tell us, have you ever had to stand up for yourself when no one else would? Because in a world that too often stays silent, we need more voices like yours. Until next time, stay strong, stay kind, and never stop fighting for what's right.